Part 9. The New Leadership Operating System. How organizations must actually be run in this age of AI. By this point, one truth should be unavoidable. AI does not fail because leaders lack vision. It fails because organizations are still run on operating systems designed for a different era. You cannot install AI on top of an industrial age leadership OS and expect transformation. At best, you get local efficiency. At worst, you get systemic confusion. Part 9 of this Leadership and AI course is about how leadership must actually operate, day to day, decision to decision, when intelligence is embedded everywhere. This is where leadership becomes architecture. Let's look at leadership as an operating system. A leadership operating system is not a strategy deck, an org chart, or a transformation program. It is the invisible logic that determines how decisions are made, how power flows, how learning happens, how accountability works, and how ethics are enforced. AI stresses every weak joint in this system, so we must redesign it deliberately. 1. Strategy cycles must become continuous. The old model worked like this: annual strategy offsites, fixed KPIs, locked budgets, and slow feedback. This model assumes stability. But in the AI era model, strategy becomes a continuous sensing and response loop. Real-time data feeds, rolling forecasts, rapid experimentation, and frequent recalibration. Leaders no longer set strategy. They steward strategic direction while the organization learns. This requires shorter decision cycles, permission to revise assumptions, mechanisms to stop initiatives quickly, and clarity on what will not change, like values, purpose. Strategy becomes adaptive discipline, not rigidity. The second redesign, decision architecture replaces command chains. AI creates an abundance of insight. The bottleneck becomes decision clarity. The new leadership OS requires explicit decision architecture. Which decisions are automated, which are AI assisted, which require human judgment, which escalate, and when. Here is what high-performing organizations are already doing. They define decision rights clearly, document accountability, reduce committee overload, and eliminate decision ping-pong. Leaders design how decisions flow, not just what decisions are made. Third redesign required AI moves from tool to infrastructure. In successful organizations, AI stops being a project. It becomes embedded in workflows, integrated into dashboards, present in daily decisions, invisible but indispensable. This requires leaders to align AI initiatives with core processes, retire redundant legacy workflows, ensure adoption, not just deployment, measure impact where work actually happens. If AI doesn't change how people work, it isn't infrastructure, it's decoration. Remember that. Point number 4. Governance becomes enablement, not control. Traditional governance focuses on restriction, approvals, compliance, and risk avoidance. AI-era governance must balance speed and safety, innovation and ethics, autonomy and accountability. Effective AI governance includes clear ownership of models, ethical review embedded in design, transparency standards, human override mechanisms, and incident response protocols. Governance becomes a confidence enabler, not a brake. Fifth redesign in Leadership OS. The board's role must evolve. Boards can no longer treat AI as a technical update. In the new OS, boards must understand AI's strategic implications, oversee ethical risk, question data and model assumptions, ensure leadership capability renewal, and integrate AI into long-term stewardship. Boards that remain passive will preside over blind risk. Boards that engage thoughtfully become a strategic asset. Sixth, talent systems must shift from roles to capabilities. The old Leadership OS treated talent as fixed roles, static skills, and linear careers. AI accelerates skill decay, so the new OS focuses on capability mapping, continuous reskilling, internal talent mobility, and human-AI role redesign. Leaders must ask, what skills are becoming obsolete? What skills are emerging? How fast can we redeploy talent? Talent systems become learning systems. Seventh redesign in the Leadership OS is performance metrics that reward learning. If you measure only output, efficiency, and short-term results, you will kill AI-driven adaptation. The new Leadership OS includes metrics for learning velocity, experimentation quality, decision improvement, cross-functional collaboration, and ethical outcomes. What gets measured gets protected. Leaders who measure learning create organizations that survive change. Eighth, culture is engineered, not hoped for. Culture in the new OS is not slogans. It is built through incentives, promotions, consequences, and leadership behavior. If leaders say experiment but punish failure, culture collapses. If leaders say data-driven but override data politically, trust dies. The new OS demands behavioral integrity. Ninth, ethics is operationalized. Ethics cannot live in policy documents. In the new OS, ethics is part of system design, bias checks are standard, accountability is explicit, escalation is safe, and transparency is default. This protects people, reputation, and long-term value. Ethical leadership becomes a structural feature, not a moral aspiration. 10th point for Leadership OS redesign is that leadership time allocation must change. Finally, leaders must change how they spend time. Less time on status reporting, approvals, and firefighting. More time on sense-making, system design, capability building, ethical oversight, and learning. The AI-era leaders' calendar is a mirror of priorities. The AI-era leadership operating system is adaptive, not fixed, distributed, not centralized, learning-driven, not compliance-driven, ethically grounded, not opportunistic, human-centered, not machine-dominated. This OS does not eliminate leadership, it elevates it. We now arrive at the final question: how does a leader remain relevant, not for the next year, but for the next decade, when intelligence itself keeps accelerating? That is the final frontier. We will explore this in the next section of this course.